Hey, good afternoon, everyone, or evening, or morning time, I guess, depending on where you're at. My name is Will Pedersen. I run our customer shop here. It is our Tuesday Lunch and Learn. As always, if you guys have questions, you can use the raise hand feature, and we'll unmute you, and you can ask. You can type your question out in the chat, or you can type your question out in the Q&A. Any or all of the above. I will be here waiting for any questions from the community that we might have. Nothing off limits, please. And confirming, Maroon, that you can see my correct screen.
Yes, I can.
Okay, the lunch and learn slide.
Yes.
Okay, great. So it might be another light crew here since yesterday was a day off in the United States. But please let us know what questions you have. Please let us know what questions that you guys might have. Happy to help. Anybody have any questions about anything?
Martin Calzada has a question. I put it on the chat for you, Will.
Okay, here we go. Hey, back with XML question. All right, Martin, let's go ahead and give you permission to talk. I was able to use a template to create a structure, but can seem to group them together as I don't have access to the whole template, only its child nodes. How do I merge the child nodes? I was able to use a template. I was able to use a template. Let me paste this. Oh, great. You already got that in the chat. Maru, thank you. What does template mean here, Martin? Like a XML, like you copy the XML in to create the data type?
Yeah, Will. Sorry, I copied and pasted. I think I mentioned this a couple of days ago. Show me how to do this. But once I do that, I have the child nodes available, like the structures, so I can fill them out dynamically. Once I want to, like, I only have access to the child nodes. Like, I don't know how to put them together so I can have my whole XML template back. You know what I mean? So the template has, I mean, the XML structure that I want to use has a few nodes in them. And I have access to those individual nodes, but I'm not sure how to put them together, how to put them back together. Does that make sense?
Let's see here. So here's our XML sample one, and let's edit this really quick. So we have an XML structure here. And in this XML structure, it's a list of records. And so there's a record, and each record has a field, right? Title, author, and rank. So you're saying that you could build record, but you don't know how to build a list of record inside of records, or you have, go ahead.
My structure has record A and record B.
Okay.
So it's not necessarily like a list within the parent structure.
Okay.
So I can access record A and record B.
Okay.
But I don't know how to put them back together into an XML file.
Okay, so let's say XML type. I'm just going to try to build an XML for us here really quick. Right? XML type, and we're going to say record A, close record A. And inside of record A, we'll have, you know, I'll just call it name. Right, and then I'm going to copy this and put record B, and then format it. Okay, so we've got some very simple XML here, right? Is this we tracking so far?
Yeah, this is more or less like what I'm trying to do.
Okay, so I'll just create a new place. This is a folder where we were working in before. I'm just gonna, I guess let me not change my pattern here. Create LNL 118 root. All right, so let's create a data type here. And XML JSON, create type from XML. I'll call this record set XML. I'll paste my XML in. Okay, here's my XML, and create this. So I should get an XML type, and I should get two subtypes with this as well. We'll see what that looks like in a minute. I'm going to create a flow here really quick. And if I find actually, let me find a serialized step. Find a XML serialized step. And on this, I'm going to find my type, which is record. Record Or how about XML? XML type record A, XML type record B. Oh, good Lord. I can't remember what I named this stupid thing. Just a moment. Record set XML. Okay. So if I look for XML type is my name, record set XML. And I do build data, I should have 2 build datas available to me. Right? So this is a serialized step. So if I were to build record A, let's just say, I'll just do constants first here. Right? I'd get it. Object system. Hold on. Let me recompile my XML here. You probably need to put a value in to name so that it reads it as a string instead of a abstract type. Just editing, just providing a value into the name property so that we can read that as a string. Come back into my flow here. Okay, name is a string now. So Will Dave, right? And if I run this, it should run. I can look at my output data. I can see my XML here, and I'll copy that XML, come over to JS to XML lint here, format, and get that XML back out. So this is a super simple example. Is the question that you don't know how to build up the 2, like this XML has 2 subtypes inside of it, right? Record A, whose type is record A, and record B, whose type is record B. Are you building these up individually and needing to map them into this XML serialized step downstream? Is that the real question? Like, how do I build record A earlier in the flow and then map it into my serialized step or wherever I'm mapping it to?
You know what I'm saying though? When you created that structure, it showed you right away XML type, which is the parent node. When I'm copying and pasting mine, I'm giving the parent node and a child node. But when I serialize, when I use this step for the parent node, I don't have the child node available. Yeah, because if I'm using what would be XML
you can shoot me the XML if you want. Like maybe email it to me. I could just use your XML and we could make sure we use the actual XML.
Can we do that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Give me 1 second. Why don't I just share URL for the file itself? Give me 1 second, please.
I'll make us a new folder here. Martin XML workspace.
Just pasted it in the chat, Will.
Okay. All right, got a big XML here. Okay, so let's see, got a new folder here. And we're going to create, let's just validate our XML here. Format looks good. All good. Your XML is valid. Wonderful. So we'll come in XML JSON, create type from XML. We'll paste our XML in. And looks like this is something I'll call this employee payroll or something. Is it okay if I pull up this XML on the web meeting?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Employee payroll. Okay. And we'll create. All right. So we'll create a flow. And we'll search XML. Wow. Okay. We will search XML. We will find the deserialized step, our XML type. We will search payroll. Okay, so we got to find the right parent structure, which can be take a little bit of interpretation. So let's look at it this way. All right, so this is our type whose name we created as employee payroll, but the parent, the type we actually care about is going to be, I believe, comprobante. Forgive my pronunciation. So let's search for comprobante. And you can see the type name is decisions XML structures employee payroll. That namespace comes from the name we gave the XML structure here. So did it take that chain? There's our XML type. Oh, I did a deserialized step. I'm sorry. I want a serialized step. This will be better. There's comprobante. And if we look at our serialized step, we should now be able to see the type is set to, if we look under inputs, the comprobante type object is serialized. And I'm going to say build data, get my properties. Are you seeing this? Do you see this in yours? Or you see a certificado, complemento?
Yeah, those are properties of that node, but then the child nodes are not in there.
Okay, so what's an example of one that's not showing up? Looking at this XML. So so like complemento should have a property name called nomina.
Yeah, so that's missing. And it's if you look at the other window, the other app where you're building it.
Yeah, so here to get access to that, we're going to need to use build data. So if your type is a complex type and you need to build its properties up individually from, say, let's assume it's just a form being submitted, you're going to want to, do you have build data option available on the complemento subtype inside of comprobante? I'm probably just mispronouncing the heck out of these words and don't know what I'm saying.
So build data and then complemento build data and then nomina build data.
Yeah, and you can keep going down depending on how deep the nesting goes, right? It's limitless. There's no maximum amount.
How would I add a list? Say I needed a list of nomina. Is there a way to add a bunch of nominas inside complemento?
Your XML would have to have a list as part of it first, but yes. So back to our original example here, which let me back out of this one. If we go back to our original example, which is in 111 here, and we look at this XML sample. So this has a list, oops, sorry, our first one. This XML has a list of records, right? So the XML itself is formatted as a list. Then we read that as a list. So if we look at our flow here and we look at our serialized step, again, here, let me just bring in a clean serialized step so we can view this a little bit better. So here's serialized step. The type is records. And that's our XML sample one, Yep. So here on objects is serialized, type records. If we do build data, what you'll see is a list of records. And now instead of build data, it will be build array. So on build array, you get an add button here, and you can add as many items to the array, the record array, which is a list of records record, inside of the type as you need. This is assuming, now that's assuming you have a determined list, right? Like a number of items in your list, like you always know, which is probably not the case. Like you don't know how many of these records you need to add. And that's why we had something here when we did this example above. So what we did is create an empty list of records, and then we did some sort of looping behavior. In this example, we just fetched accounts and looped them just to give us something to actually loop over. But you would have some object list you would be building up. But in here, we actually build up. You can see we have an add item to list step. It's pointed at records, and it's changing the value of records. That's why you read original list in the output list here. And each time it goes through, it's creating a new item with email address as the name. It's creating a new record, a new individual record. It loops through, adds a number of records equal to the number of accounts that it loops. Again, just specific to this example. And then in XML serialize, you see we do build data here, but we're doing select value, and we're passing in the record list that we declare here into the object. Contrast that with this one, where we're building a static list using build array and the add button. Now, each of these becomes build data, right? Like you'll do build data on each, if you were following the example we started with. So the question really becomes, from your design perspective, do you know the number of items in the list? Almost always with these types of flows, you don't. So you need to build up a list of your object and then pass it into the appropriate location. Now, the reason the XML we were looking at that you sent over in the chat doesn't have a list is because the XML itself appears to have no list properties in it at the moment.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to update that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it looks like I was missing the build data step. I mean the accessing properties within the build data.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm gonna have to make a list on that template before I import it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you, Will. I'll try that.
Yeah, you bet. Happy to help. Okay. Thanks for the question, Martin. Who else has got questions for us today? That was a good one. There's some things there as I'm walking through it with you that are not, I mean, the way you have to find the exact right type, that admittedly for me as using the product here in front of you all is not what I would consider ideal. That I have to actually go look at the XML, find the root property name, search for that root property name, because the type name I gave it is saved in the namespace of the XML. So I wouldn't say that that's ideal, but that is how it works today. What else? What else? What other questions might we have today? Anybody else have anything today? I'm getting close to 30 minutes in, so let me know now. I'll give a few more minutes here, and then I guess we will call it a day if we don't have anything else. Yeah, for those of you that are on, please help us, make this valuable for everyone. If there's anyone at your company who's even curious about decisions or is using decisions but is having trouble getting started or anything like that, please make sure everyone knows that this is a service that we're offering. I want to make sure we keep doing these. I know it can be tough to get these questions answered over email, as well as what a little bit of experience. Look how long of a way that can go to helping you get your questions to your answers. Believe it or not, yesterday, well, they said it was the 16th. The 16th was my 7-year anniversary here at Decisions, which is pretty wild to think about. So I've had an opportunity to watch us grow from a Silverlight application that was drab and gray to the pretty awesome product that you all get to hopefully enjoy dealing with day to day. So that being said, please, if there's anyone at all who could benefit from these meetings, please knock on their door and ask them and keep talking to them about it until they start coming. If we have no more questions, which it appears that we don't, I think we'll call it a day. Thanks, everyone. And Maru, who is our presenter tomorrow and Thursday?
Tomorrow we have Noah Young, and Thursday we have Tyler Haynes.
Okay, wonderful. All right, thank you, everyone. Have a great afternoon.